Faculty Development Program on Electric Vehicle Challenges and Opportunities in Future India, organized by the Department of Mechanical Engineering, RMK College of Engineering and Technology, Chennai. And we have completed the two sessions before. Session one on problem statement for research in electric vehicle domain, presented by Mr. Prashant Kumar Palani, head of the Automotive Homologation, Tirupur, Tamil Nadu. And session two on electric vehicle challenges and opportunities, presented by Dr. Dipankar Debnath, assistant professor from Indian Institute of Technology, Kharagpur. So we believe that it was useful to all the participants. And now we have our respected speaker, Dr. Josephine Oral. And it's my pleasure to introduce Dr. Josephine Oral to all the participants here. And she working as assistant professor in the Department of Electrical and Electronic Engineering in National Institute of Technology, Tiruchirappalli. And she completed a BE degree program from Anna University in 2006 and MTech degree in Power Electronics from National Institute of Technology, Tiruchirappalli in 2009. She was awarded her PhD degree in electrical engineering from Anna University in 2016. And her honors and awards, and she has got GATE All India rank 191 in the year 2007 and Best Paper Award at PSC College of Technology in the year 2013, an academic rank holder award at National Institute of Technology, Tiruchirappalli in the year 2009, an academic topper award at Sri Krishna College of Technology in the year 2006. And she was involved in the professional community as university nominee by Anna University, Chennai for Board of Studies in Electrical and Electronic Engineering Department, Hindustan College of Engineering and Technology, Coimbatore, and busy member in Anna University, Chennai. And her academic and administrative responsibilities are the press and media coordinator in National Institute of Technology, Tiruchirappalli, and served as a NBA coordinator, a department of Tripoli, National Institute of Technology, Tiruchirappalli during 2018 and 2019. And she has also have patent on smart and automotive electricity bill generation system using Internet of Things. And her research interest or the power electronics, renewable energy systems, power quality, and applications of nanotechnology electronics. And she has also published many research papers in the reputed journals, and she also guide PhD scholars. And now it's my kind request, Dr. Josephine Oral, to discuss her presentation on energy management system and power converters in electric vehicle. And it's it's my pleasure to give it the session to you, ma'am. And before going to the session, it's my kind request to all the participants. And if you have any queries, kindly post it in a chat box, and that will be discussed at the end of the session. And we would expect your cooperation throughout the session. Now I hand over the session to the Dr. Josephine Oral. Please, ma'am.
Thank you for the introduction. I hope that I can continue. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. You can, ma'am.
Yeah. Fine. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for giving me the opportunity. Today I'm here to discuss about two aspects. Okay. The first one is energy management system. The second one is the power electronic converters with respect to the electrical vehicles. So far, I think this FDP is organized by the mechanical department, and people are from varied streams, like people are from electrical and people are from mechanical engineering. So this is actually the national education policy, which is very much appreciable at this point of time, because electric vehicles is not just electrical or mechanical. It is a combination of all the other engineering aspects also, including the production and so on. All the even computer engineers also come into this picture. So today I'm going to explain about two things, which is called as the energy management systems and power electronic converters. So to start with, what is actually power electronics and what is actually electrical management system? So that is what we are going to look into today's lecture. So this EMS, it is a computer aided tool which is used by operators of electric utility grids. either to monitor, control, or optimize the performance of generation or transmission systems. So this is meant by the actual energy management systems. So now this concept is being taken up in almost all the systems. Like it can be used in any small scale system, even in microgrids, and it can be also used in EVs, and in future it can be used in electrical highways also. Let me come to that electrical highway at the later point of time at the end of this lecture, because right now for the next now it is 2021 and 2030, that is what government has planned. 2030, almost 30% of things like government is planning to sell the electric vehicles to just focus upon the system, like to reduce the conventional cars or conventional two-wheelers, and making shift over to a electrical vehicle. So that is what the government is planning for the next 10 more years. Maybe 2030, 30% of entire sale will be based upon electric vehicles. And after that, we always look into the future, right? We always look into the government policies, what it is all about. So government policies, they have a wonderful forecast, and even government is planning to set up electrical highway. So people might be imagining what is an electrical highway. Let me come to that point. So we will just go as by flow. So to starting, I'm just focusing two aspects in EVs. One is the electrical management system. Next one is the power converters in EV. And finally, all these EV in future will move towards electric highways. This will be the future. So now, combination of this complete energy, the energy is completely managed with different protocols. That is energy management system. Now, actually, again, Government of India has again set up different guidelines like characteristics of EV supply equipments, EV charging standards. I'm just moving. These are the contents we just look into it, like the modern electric vehicles, introduction to plug-in electric vehicles, BMS, then state of health, state of charge, and batteries based with EVs and incorporating power electronics. And these are and we'll look into the conclusions and references later. And we all know, right? This is self-explanatory slide. Why we are moving towards hybridization of vehicles? Definitely to reduce the fuel consumption. We know the price of petrol and diesel. And next is the climate thing. Climate change, that is the major drawback we are facing right now. And you can see the pandemic, how we all, like you can see then people have been posting from different places saying that now you can view the Himalayas from a long distance, now you can view this, we can view that. That is because of the climate changes. There was a lot of carbon dioxide emissions in the atmosphere. And slowly we are gradually moving towards the hybridization of vehicles and then purely electric vehicles. And naturally also to employ light materials for building the vehicle. And this is obvious, to inherit the electrical technologies in vehicles, mainly for its advancement. And being mechanical department, you completely know about the internal combustion engines. There are plus and there are minus. And now when we talk about electric vehicles, definitely there are differences between the ICE and the electric vehicles. And talking about the regenerative braking, which is more easier in the electric vehicles, and also to reduce the size of the internal combustion engines. And we focus on the electric only drive concepts. Now electric vehicle technologies, again, it is divided into the hybrid electric vehicle, the plug-in hybrid electric vehicle, and pure electric vehicles where no internal combustion engines are there. And the power sources either can be batteries or it can be ultra capacitors, it can be fuel cells. And now Humble Motors have initially designed an SUV with renewable energy sources. You have solar panel at the top of the car, which is completely, it is a commercial vehicle. It is not in the research stage. Okay, it is in the commercial vehicle, is in the it is ready to run. It is in the it is provided by the Humble Motors US. And we have the hybrid storage concepts also emerging into picture. Now I'm going to ask a question. See, either you or me are doing more research in something, say that is A or B. We are doing something with research. Now, are these research are really focused? This is a question. See, we do a blind research and we don't know what is that we are doing and what is the outcome of it. See, government wants some good policies just to implement the good policies and to bring out a good and greater economy ultimately. So that is the society actually. Now everything when we talk about the electrical aspects, or when we talk about the technical aspects, what is that we are actually doing? So that quality of research is the question now. So what is this quality of research we are going to do? So now, before entering into the battery management systems or the power electronic converters, because today one day maybe 1.5 hours I might give a lecture, but what is that you ultimately take home, and what is that you just completely think over to revamp your mind to the focus of the goodness of society? So what is that? So to put forth just a minute, let me take now, is it focused? That was my question. So now, when we talk about this electrical car or electrical two-wheeler, we overall say it is an electrical vehicle. That ultimately we design something, but where do we charge that? Where do we charge completely? What is that we are doing? So those charging stations of major concerns. So charging stations are of major concern. So government has issued a handbook with a summary of overall view of EV charging infrastructure, the assessing charging demand and setting targets. Everything government has decided, and from charging stations to charging points, and from charge point operators and e-mobility service providers, all these are the biggest questions. And how do we implement it in a smooth way? So that is the ultimate thing. We design something called as converter, and whether it is really whether it can be really integrated with the actual charging stations provided by the guidelines issued by the government. So make sure the specifications are related to the actual system. So this is what we have to do. If you are trying to design something, that design should be based upon the specifications and the guidelines issued by the government. So it is easy for us to implement it actually. So that model of EV charging, so we can arrive at a proper model. So this proper model can be implemented. Now, finally, we are going to connect this EV to the electricity grid. So that is we are going to do. We have a charging station here. We have a charging station. You integrate, you design something. Let it be an X or Y. You design something and you try to integrate with the charging station. And this is actually integrating with the grid only. So there are some practical difficulties when we integrate with the grid. So these are the concerns we are talking about. Now, this side, see, I'm moving from this right to left. From here to here, I am moving. So this is a grid, the charging station, your vehicle here. And here we are going, that is what the design we are talking about. And in this design only, we are having this battery management systems, and we are having this power converters. I hope you're clear with what we are going to see today. Just can I have a message? Let us see the message here. Yes. Can I have a message from everyone? Did you understand what I'm going to take today? What is that actual thing we are going to see today? Yes. Yes, fine. Now, moving into the actual concept, there are different motors which is being used in electric vehicles. Let that be an induction motor or a BLDC or any motors. Now I'm going to give you an example of the fastest electric car, which is called as a Tesla. Right now, Tesla is trying to invest in a country, trying to invest with respect to the fastest electric cars. And I hope you might be aware of the Ola vehicles also. They have almost sold for around 1 lakh e-scooters within 48 hours and have a revenue of almost 1,100 crores. That was actually a news long back. So what is this? We're talking about the latest things, and what is this? So let me give you an example of fastest electric car, which is run by the induction motor. Now, when we talk about a car, imagine this is a car. Now, when we talk about the battery management systems and the power converters, where does it actually play? You see, a small, when we talk about the Tesla, you have a battery at the bottom, and small batteries are there, and you have an induction motor, and there will be an inverter. Induction motor is actually run by AC supply, this DC, which is converted to AC here. So this is what we are going. This battery management system is here, and this inverter, mainly there are the power converter concepts what we are using here. So now we are going to, this BMS is an integration of almost everything. It needs to integrate with everything. So now analyzing the technology behind this inverter, analyzing the technology with this inverter and the induction motor, and also the lithium-ion battery sources in a synchronized mechanism, in a step-by-step manner, is completely a closed loop, which is the management system, which is actually a management systems. When we talk about electrically, this induction motor, we know that it is a stator and a rotor. So rotor is a collection of conducting bars which is short-circuited by the end rings. We know that, and three-phase AC input is given to the stator here, and three-phase alternating current in the coils will be producing a rotating magnetic field. And this Tesla motor, for example, whatever I told you, produces a 4-pole magnetic fields, and this rotating magnetic field will induce a current on the rotor bars to make it run. This is the simple idea behind this induction motor. So see how they have got the basic point. They have taken an induction motor because there is one more advantage of this induction motor. When we talk about an internal combustion engine, the speed and torque, when we talk about the speed and torque, we have almost around 1000 to 5000 RPM, which gives a 35% of a torque, which is a small value. But when we take the same speed and same torque with respect to an electric vehicle with the fastest electric car, it produces almost a speed from where? From 0 to 18,000 RPM. 18,000 RPM it provides, because induction motor is neither precious nor a permanent magnet, right? So at the same time, it is very powerful. And the beauty of the induction motor itself is that speed depends upon a frequency. See, with the simple concept, how they are making this induction motor run. So this simple fact makes the electric car speed control very easy. So motor supply is also from a variable frequency drive, which in turn controls the motor speed. So the speed will be varying from almost 0 to 18,000 RPM. So this is the greatest advantages with respect to the internal combustion engine. So in internal combustion engines, directly connecting the engine rotation to the drive wheel, it's not a clever idea, right? That is not at all a clever idea. But here it is not like that. But here it is completely different. And also in internal combustion engines, they does not produce the direct rotational motion also. So linear motion of the piston must be converted to a rotational motion. That is a drawback, and that will cause a major problem in the mechanical balancing also. So this power output of internal combustion engine is always uneven. So as a result, what happens? All these factors contribute, and that is making this motor to be superior. This motor concepts, either implementing or some motor which is making it superior. And from where does this motor receive power? As I have told you, it is from the battery pack. So you always plug into a charging station, your battery charges. Again, what happens from the battery? The battery is actually a DC. Now you need an inverter to convert to the AC just to provide the supply for the motor here. So this power electronic device, this power converter, this power electronic concepts controls the AC power frequency, and thus it controls the motor speed. So inverter can vary the amplitude of the AC power, which in turn will control the output power of the motor. This is the actual logic. So inverter is the brain of this electric car. So this power electronic converter seems to be the brain of the electric car. So that is why we are moving. That is the only reason I gave you an example of this fastest moving car. So now Now we are proceeding with the next concept. I think you are aware of this, which is called as a wheel hub motor. Wheel hub motor you have here. Just let me minimize it. So this is called as a wheel motor or a wheel hub drive or a hub motor or in-wheel motor. And this is an electric motor that is incorporated into the hub of a wheel. Okay, in the hub of a wheel and is directly driving the motor. If the motor rotates, the wheel rotates. That is it. It directly drives. So this is essentially what happens in the hub motor. You connect the central normally rotating axle to the static frame of the bicycle or the chassis of a car. So what happens here is, when you switch on the power, the outer part of the motor rotates and thus becoming the wheel to rotate. Means the wheels will be rotating. So that powers the vehicle to move forward. This is the concept of a hub motor. Coming back to the different types of variants. First one is the plug-in hybrid electric variant. So the plug-in hybrid electric vehicle is a vehicle where the battery can be recharged by plugging a charging cable into an external electric power source, in addition to internally by its onboard internal combustion engine, which is powered by a generator. Moving into the hybrid vehicle, we have the hybrid vehicles where it is powered by the internal combustion engines and also an electric motor, which uses energy stored in batteries actually. So hybrid electric motor cannot be plugged into charge the battery directly. Coming into the mild hybrids, this is a different variant where they are called also as a power assist hybrids or a battery assisted hybrid vehicles, and they are generally cars with internal combustion engine which is equipped with the electrical machine. So one motor or a generator in a parallel configuration, that is a hybrid configuration actually. So this allows the engine to be turned off, like whenever the car or the vehicle is coasting, means running or braking, or it's stopped or it restart quickly. This is the beauty of this mild hybrids. And mild hybrids may employ regenerative braking. So I've told you the same example I can give you for this regenerative braking also. When we talk about electric vehicle, there are two pedals, means vehicle speed may be accurately controlled by using a single pedal. Brake pedal is the next. First one is called the which is used to run a car. The next one is just to completely stop the vehicle. So that is the next thing. So electrical vehicles, when you talk about regenerative braking, it means that the entire system now it can perform as a generator also, means power is fed back to the supply. So this is the another advantages with respect to the electric vehicles. Smooth regenerative braking can take place just by the control of these two different pedals. So how it happens, how this electric car can be driven effectively with just help of one pedal is that here that employment of braking, regenerative braking is possible. So this induction motor, I'm giving you the same example of the Tesla wherein the induction motor is used. So there the induction motor will act as a generator because that is going to supply the power. So what happens at that time? To convert motor into a generator, what will happen now? Now the rotor speed should be greater than the rotating magnetic field speed. So how? Again, this also will be done by the power electronic converter, which is called as the inverter. Again, this inverter is the major that brain decides how to make this motor to run as a generator. So this inverter will play a crucial role here just by adjusting the input power frequency and by keeping this RMF speed below the rotor speed. Okay, so this will generate electricity in stator coils, which is a way higher than the supplied electricity. So generated electricity can be stored in the battery pack, as I mentioned previously. Here, the generated electricity can stored in the battery pack here after the conversion. So this is how the entire system works. So what happens here? The entire vehicle speed may be accurately controlled by, that is what? I have told you, just by a single pedal we can control. And then, as I mentioned you, the next pedal will be for braking the system, that is stopping the system, completely halt down, that's it. And when we talk about the full hybrid, okay, the full hybrid or parallel hybrid uses this combustion engine and electric motor to drive a car either simultaneously, okay, or independently. And this can be used to provide extra power which is employed in conjunction with combustion engine. So what happens naturally, ultimately.
Ma'am? Ma'am? Josephine, ma'am, your audio. Unable to hear your voice, ma'am. Josephine, ma'am.
Yeah. Is it audible now?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, fine. Now, where was I? I was talking about the full hybrid. So this car can either run simultaneously or independently. So no, this can be used to provide extra power, which is employed in conjunction with the combustion engine. So when we talk about improving the fuel economy, naturally, if if there is something extra that can contribute to the to just for powering the engine, naturally we can save some fuel right there. So that full hybrid helps you over there. Now moving into the micro hybrid. So this vehicle have an idle start or stop, and that energy management functions are called micro hybrids. So we have an electric torque assistance there. So the electric motor can provide additional torque to the wheel, okay, for the movement. So improving the overall torque response of the powertrain. So talking about the idling stop, it is a system that automatically stops the engine when the vehicle is brought to stop at signals. So that is what I told you. If you stop, it should completely stop. And if you activate the car, it sets on again and off, like it happens there. So vehicles often keep their engines running even when they are stopped, but a vehicle with idling stop is completely different. So that is the place where we can improve the fuel economy by turning off the engine directly. So we have a comparison of electric vehicles. talking about the subcompact cars, the compact cars, the medium cars, the large cars, and the premium cars. We have the electric motor vehicle segment with the different A, B, C, D, and we talk about the motor power rating and the potential saving with respect to the climate change. And saving potential means we talk about the tank to the wheel. That is the saving potential we talk about, and it is partially based upon the how much it is saved, which is ranked from less, partly, and excellent. So this is how the cars are being divided, and this is the generalized slide where it is self-explanatory, which gives you overall details about the how it is used throughout the world. And you can see many Chinese paper having all the details. They customize and give you, just like fixing a bicycle, just like fixing the wheels or the handlebar or whatever it is, whatever parts may be, they customize and give you the electric vehicles. You can order your own vehicle and you can customize it in any way. So definitely, so in future, India will be one of the leading countries to customize and get any vehicle, and we will be in the top global market for sure. That no doubt. We almost started gradually improving, and then and there we are seeing the different changes that has been adopted, and you can see in the highways also charging stations are being set up for electric vehicles. So naturally we will move because the price is much less when compared to the petrol and diesel. And there are different companies of EV operating in India, and these companies have a tough competition within each other. And you can see Ola is there, the Tata Motors also, they are playing the major role here, implementing their vehicles also. And as I have told you, you can see this Ola. That is a place where they played brilliantly. Employing it in online means just pay $499 and book a vehicle. So that is a bright idea, right? So that is how they have booked the 1,10,000 vehicles have been booked in overall in 20. That is what, 2 days, 48 hours. The revenue for them was almost 1,100 crores. Just imagine the EV competition. Now, if there are charging stations in our country where we have different places, anybody, you or me, will definitely buy a EV when compared to our conventional vehicles. So these are the different companies, and the entire railway network in the country will be totally electrified by 2022. So these are the things. As I have told you, one day it was like 1,100 crores, which is almost 500, 499 you can book. So this is how the revolutionary Ola scooter came into picture. And you can see one good thing here. Ola wants to be the Tesla of affordable EV. So what is that they do here? Now that is the batteries here. When we talk about battery management system, battery is the primary thing. So what is that battery now? When we talk about batteries, different batteries are used in EVs. When we from the beginning, we can see that lead acid, nickel metal hydride, lithium ion, so on. The different things have pros and cons, and there are different advantages. When you talk about the advantages with lithium ion, high energy density, high power density, long service cycle life, and low self discharge rate, and no memory effects, and high efficiency were there. When talking about the disadvantages, it was not easily available. Yes, that is true. Actually, low recycling value and safety and cost concerns are there. So that is why this lithium ion also, we are going for a different variants of lithium ion, talking about the lithium polymers. Actually, now this will dominate, and if there are very good advantages, if they are able to withstand with respect to lithium titanate can also be used in the future. So research is what going in all these areas. When you talk about the variants of lithium ion, such as lithium iron phosphate, lithium manganate, lithium cobalt oxide, lithium manganese cobalt, and their variants of polymers. And naturally, you can see a variety of advantages and variety of disadvantages here. So one disadvantages will be replaced with the good advantages in the next version of the lithium battery. So it should have a very long, ultimately what it should do when we talk about a battery management system, what that battery must do actually, that should give you a long life cycle. It should have a good safety purpose, and it should have strong overcharge abilities. It should have a long cycle life, and definitely high energy density should be there for this kind of batteries when you're operating with heavy vehicles. And there should be definitely a good thermal stability. And what is that? These are all the things it should be there. And moreover, we require fast charging batteries. This is the need of the hour. Now, for example, let me tell you, you have a battery here. You have to charge here. And you have some, for charging purpose, you have converter here. Now, this converter and this battery are independent of each other. Means battery depends upon the converter depends upon the battery. It's all together. It's a mix of both only. So this is able to get the charges. This converter should be able to convert as early as possible, and it should charge the battery. This battery should be able to accept the conversion, and this is how it mutually plays. So this fast charging, because when you talk about a mobile phone, it charges very fastly, right? But when talking about the cars or two-wheelers, we require some time. The time is also a thing where we should focus on the research, because when we just go to a petrol bunk, what we just do is just we fill it and come. There is no delay actually. But this charging capacity, fast charging ability is the need of the hour. This is where we should improve our ideas. And moving to the Tesla's battery pack, because starting I've given you an induction motor as an example. Now I'm talking about the battery pack. Here you can see I mentioned in the diagram, right? We have there is a battery pack at the bottom. So what this battery pack does, why we have a battery pack down? So this battery pack, which is at the bottom of the car, that will help in improving the stability of the car considerably. So that is the idea behind that. So lower of gravity, that will naturally improve the stability of the car. So low weight battery packs, when fitted close to the ground level, here it's a ground level, close to the ground level, will lower the vehicle center of gravity. So that is the idea. Battery pack is placed down, and you can see many batteries. Almost you can have 16 modules totally. We can have almost 7,000 and more cells here. This is just like a normal batteries which we used in our day-to-day life. You can see this battery pack here. This is how the battery pack will look like. So just a collection of common lithium ion cells only, and they are all similar to whatever we use in our day-to-day life. I'm sure that everybody might have seen this. So these are the cells connected in combination, either in series or in parallel, to produce the required power to run the electric car. So many small cells are used instead of big cells. That is the basic idea. So what is the advantages of this? So effective cooling is guaranteed, and temperature distribution is almost even. And also, if there is one defective cell, you can replace that specifically. You no need to change it over a bulk. There the entire modules are completely detachable modules. We can replace that particular part alone. So this is about the battery pack. And naturally, what happens here, it is much simple, right? Now coming to the energy management systems with respect to battery. So what should be the major concern? As I have told you, the converter is also there, battery is also there. So now what are the concerns with the lithium ion batteries? Here, the safe operating area is restricted by temperature and voltage. Okay, and this is there, like it is restricted to operate from -20 to 55 degrees centigrade. Now that is where all the nanotechnology researchers are performing their research to check out the lithium ion variants. Let it be a lithium ion polymer variant, or let it be any lithium ion variant. there is a restriction with the temperature, and I know, I've read some papers. I hope you might also read those details. When it comes to foreign countries, or when it comes to our country, when the temperature is almost less than minus 20 degree, your car doesn't start, because the battery doesn't start. It does not operate at that particular temperature. So these are the challenges when you talk about the energy management systems, which is more concerned with respect to the lithium ion batteries. So high cost is also like, when you should not remember when you have replaced your battery. That is meant by a good battery, right? Simply replacing the battery, it is not cheap enough actually. So these are the concerns with respect to the EMS systems with respect to battery. A suitable system required for battery safety and protection, and to prolong the life of the battery. And also an energy management system means it is an embedded system, which is built and designed for specific following purposes with respect to the battery. That is, protect the cells of battery from damage or failures in cases, and prolongs the life of a battery. And also it maintains battery in a state in which it can fulfill its functional design requirements, and inform the application controller how to make the best use of the pack right now. And it informs the user about the status of the battery also. Now, talking about the battery management systems, I'm getting directly into the 4 different aspects. The first one is the mechanical development, the software development, the hardware development, and then comes the testing. So here you can see the different software designs with respect to the development. And here there are different things, aspects like finite element method, the code optimization techniques. And when you talk about the finite element method, it is actually a numerical technique. It is actually a numerical technique that can perform finite element analysis. So what is that? It means that, see, we have mathematics here, okay? This mathematics, we have equations. See, the performance of a car depends upon many non-linear elements. This non-linear elements means sometimes the battery might work, sometimes the battery may not work, sometimes the inverter may have some problems, or the inverter may be able to. There are linear non-linearity. Linearity means it can or it cannot. It can do, or they do not. So this is the term it is put, that is called as non-linearity. Means it will not be it will not perform all the time in all the same way. But what we must do is, this non-linearity should be changed to a linearity. This is just like a diode. You have an ideal case and you have a practical case, right? This diode should perform in an ideal case in this way, and practically it will be this way. So these mathematical equations are meant to deal with changing the non-linear parameters to a linear parameter. Okay, so we are using these kind of equations to change into simulations, and finally we can use that to adopt in any application. So, and there are hardware designs also, they are used for the development. Like we have the worst case circuit analysis, and value engineering for combining PCBs. And we have, when we talk about electrical, we have PSpice simulation and verification of complex circuits. So these are things performed. Finally, when a car comes out of the entire system, it will be out of all these things. We have a hardware development team, a mechanical development team, the software and the testing is completely done with respect to all the engineers put together. So previously, this car manufacturing sector recruited more of mechanical engineers. Now the market is open for electrical as well as the computer engineers, because the battery is included here. And moreover, when battery comes to a picture, when you talk about the electrical vehicles, it is electrical actually. So naturally, the power converters play a major role, which when we talk about even now, MTechs are more interested to do more of SOC as SOH, means state of charge and state of health aspects of battery, where now the job is for that actually. So these are the different parameters where we talk about the things. Now, when we talk about the engine controller codes, there are unified diagnostic services, right? They are the actual protocols that lets the diagnostic systems, okay, to communicate with the control units, the electronic control units. So this is the battery management systems completely. Means you can diagnose the faults and reprogram the complete controllers also, that in case if it is required. So these kinds of systems are there. This battery management system will communicate with almost entire devices of the car, or for example, if it is a car. So it is unified. Why it is called as a unified? When you talk about EVs, we have a battery management system. They're called as unified. Why it is unified means there are all the other standards which are collaborated together. Means ISO 15765 and other standards are put together as a one standard. So it is unified actually, because it is not simple. It's not a very easy task to control an induction motor when it comes to a closed loop system. We have the complexity, but at the same time, you have the speed variation with even till 18,000 RPM being the fastest one. So there, the battery management system should play a major role. So it should be able to reprogram the ECU even if it is required. So that kind of protocol should be made by the engine controller code. So this J1939 is almost a part of the engine controller code only. That is what it is called as. They're all the UDS, the Unified Diagnostic Services. When we talk about the computer aided design, most of the engineers talk about this computer aided design. That is the complete product development from the concept to prototype. This will include all these things: CAD, and also the computer aided engineering, thermal analysis, it's your part, and all the other things, because there are international functional safety standards and for electric and electronic systems actually, and these are mainly used for series production of passenger cars. Okay, this ISO 26262, they are mainly for the production of the passenger car. So these kind of components are integrated together when it comes into the battery management systems. Now trend. So far I have told you why we require a battery, what is there in the battery, how we integrate with an inverter, how it is integrated with the grid, and what are the challenges there. That is the fast speeding ultimately. Now let me explain you the different aspects of EV batteries, that is their trends. So what is the trend? India's market for EV batteries could be almost worth of a different value. Just a minute. So the market is completely different. It is reduced down. Just a minute. So this lithium battery packs are almost expected to fall from $200 per kilowatt hour to $100 per kilowatt hour. So there is a technique called as battery swapping technique. Now this is used in present, and it will be the future also. So when we talk about this battery swapping technique, we should know what is meant by swapping. Swapping is something was replacing, right? That is the actual term. That is the meaning in English. So we swap something. So battery is being swapped. So that technique is adopted over a wide range of battery system. And what is this? What is meant by battery swapping technique now? So this technique may calibrate its subsystem for the electric vehicle. Means that is the deployment by accomplishing similarly. You see, you fill a petrol or either fill a diesel. Same way, either like you are replacing or swapped by partially or fully charged ones by spending in few minutes. Means that is it. Discharged batteries are being replaced or swapped by partially or fully charged ones by spending a few minutes. So this technique, this is what will happen. So battery swapping technique. So now, for example, let me put one example where the PIMO beam, which was developed by the incubation center at IIT Madras. So this IIT Madras incubated startup PiBeam unveils electric two-wheelers. So what does they do? They also do the same battery swapping technology. So they started with a research thing, and finally they made it as a commercial need. So this e-bike is targeted towards personal and commercial needs, and it is called as a PIMO. They're sustainable and they're affordably priced utility e-bikes which can charge faster than a smartphone. This is the beauty here. And they come with a range of 50 kilometers. And this is positioned between an e-bicycle and entry-level electric scooters. It falls in between the two. And they offer a top speed of 25 kilometer per hour. It's fine. This is the initial stage where an incubation center is able to produce an electric vehicle and make it as a commercialized one. So compared to the electric bicycle category, it provides a higher travel range also. And here they offer a battery swapping technology through which a drained battery can be exchanged for a fully charged battery at designated locations. Say in case if you have a charging stations, it can be done. The similar way it can be done in the future. Now, the technical aspects and battery related specifications in relation to the management systems, energy management systems. So now when we talk about C rate, that is the charging rate, they are used to signify a charge or discharge rate equal to the capacity. And when we talk about a cutoff voltage, the prescribed lower limit voltage at which battery discharge is considered complete. So that is the cutoff voltage. And nominal voltage is fine. This full of a fully charged cell which with delivering rated current. Sometimes a panel may be rated of 20 volts or 21 volts, but it will be giving an output voltage of 18 volts. This 18 is called as nominal voltage. This is the example. So this battery also, it is similar. It is voltage of a fully charged cell when delivering a rated current. And when we talk about a state of charge, this refers to remaining capacity as a percentage of maximum available capacity. That is the state of how much it has the remaining to be charged. And the depth of discharge also comes to a major discussion here. It is an alternative method of indicating the battery state of charge. Means the depth of charge is the percentage of a battery capacity that has already been discharged. So in other words, it is when we always keep this 100% as a maximum, right? So this depth will be the maximum minus the state of charge. This gives you the depth of charge. So all these details are given as in the form of equation, and they are used for simulation, and different softwares come into picture to communicate with the management system, that is the energy management systems. And state of health, okay, state of health plays a major parameter. This represents the reflects the present condition of the battery cell described in percentage, being 100% a fresh cell. So cycle life means this is the number of cycles that can be performed before the battery reaches end of life. Now, what is the cycle life? Charge discharge, a cycle, charge discharge, how many number of cycles it is able to charge and discharge. So that is the cycle life actually. So end of life means for the EV applications, the battery manufacturers must be able to define in two ways. One is 80% drop in the battery capacity. Though you charge, there will be an 80% drop in the battery capacity, which is compared to the rated capacity, or 80% drop in the battery's maximum power when compared to the rated power. So this is the performance, how it is related. So if it have any of these two, it means that battery has reached the end of the life. So what is the necessity of this BMS? See, I have been talking for a long time, talking about inverter, battery, and so on. Why? What is the necessity of this? To reduce the cost associated with the battery. See, if it is all controlled, it is all a closed loop, you have a software to control it, definitely the cost associated with the battery for replacing and the maintenance, the operation cost, it will be much better, right? Moreover, it will increase the lifetime of a battery, and lifetime of a battery is with respect to the thermal management systems and cell balancing. This is another different ocean. I'm not getting into that depth. So to ensure that the energy of the battery is optimized to power the product, this BMS is a more important task, and they are used to control and monitor the charging and discharging processes also. So they are used to provide the present status of the battery. This is the important thing. Now I'm driving a car. I should know, now you will know how much petrol is there, how much diesel is there. In the same way, your present status of the battery should be able to give the details to the person, the driver of the vehicle. So there you should have the battery voltage, current, SOC, SOH, everything, almost the entire detail should be there, because it's a closed loop. And also the safety and protection of the battery unit is a major thing, and we should also require, if there is required an alarm where there is a fault, it should be able to do that. So analyzing a fault is a major thing. So if any one of this happens, this BMS communicates to the system, and that is the need, that is the requirement why we need a BMS. So now when we talk about the functionalities and features of BMS, there are topologies. There are two basic architectures. One is the centralized architecture. Centralized architecture will incorporate almost everything together when it comes to a battery interface, or let it be a cell balancing, let it be a temperature control or charging system, or the safety control, or the relay drivers, or the communication modules, or the human machine interface when it compares to the state of health or state of charge or safety indication, anything, it is all centralized and it is all integrated together. So that is actually an advantage. Single installation point means one single controller and no complex interaction between any other modules, no inter-module communications. But again, there are disadvantages with the system also. Excess heat could be generated naturally. If they are all put together, heat generated will be more. And you can see the complex wiring structure here. They are all distributed within various locations of the vehicle. So there the functional safety is reduced. So this is one kind of architecture called as a central architecture, where the BMS is constructed. The battery management system, the energy management system is constructed. Moving to the modular topology or distributor topology, you can see the centralized being segregated here. Here you can see it is all together. Here you can see it is being segregated. Here you can see that local controller units are there, and means if it is there, means you have a master controller unit also, the central controller unit also you will have. Then BMS display will it is having its own, you can see that you can see different cells are being interacting with the relay units to the power conditioning unit and so on. So this is a distributed topology, this is a modular topology. And what are the advantages of this? You can see here there are slave controllers. As I mentioned, there are master controllers, they interact with each other. So several slave controllers consolidate data to the master controller here. And what are the advantages here? Yeah, you can see it is reliable definitely, and it supports plug and play features as it is very modular in nature. But for even slave controllers, even low end microcontrollers can be used, and the safety purpose, it is all detachable. But what is the disadvantage, the cons here is, again, inter-module communication, one module to the other, that there is a complex functionality, and naturally it is all it is all a matter of the cost here, where the cost increases almost in a higher level. Now, estimation of SOC and SOH, we need all this data. I have told you what is this SOC, SOH, why SOC. I'll just draw a diagram and tell you. And requirement to estimate state of charge, the flow diagrams, and one more thing is called as a Coulomb counting. So this is done with respect to a period of time. Okay, it is with respect to a period of time. Means they are the technique to track. Coulomb counting is one more technique. That is an estimation algorithm actually. They are used to track the state of charge of battery pack. Okay, now it works by integrating active flow current over time. See, active flow current over time to derive the total sum of energy entering or leaving, like entering or leaving. What will be the total flow of current? So this discharging current will be kept a track. See, we have a charging current and discharging current. Okay, this algorithm will keep on tracking the state of charge of the battery pack over a period of time. That is, it consolidates the total sum of energy which is entering and leaving the battery pack. So this is called as a Coulomb counting. And SOC and open circuit voltages for lithium ion batteries requires the estimation. And when we talk about the SOH and SOH algorithms, there are different methods also. One such method is the Kalman filtering method for SOC and SOH. So modeling equations are also required. Parameter estimation and Kalman features are also required. So now these are all almost explained to you in the previous slides. Why we require a state of charge means it is equivalent of a fuel gauge for a battery pack. It is similar to that, right? Because it is an EV. And the health of a battery means it is an indicator whether the battery is good or not. And there are these are all self-explanatory, whatever I have mentioned. Now moving into SOH, this is very crucial for the energy management systems in choosing these strategies to prolong a battery life. So they can be used to recognize the ongoing or abrupt degradation of battery, and they are used to prevent a possible failure naturally. So they give an indication when to replace a battery pack. When we can, by just knowing the SOH, we can know when to replace the battery pack. They provide the internal resistance of the battery. So the conclusion is precise SOH, and SOH is crucial in practical applications where it is necessary to determine how long the battery will last. So more importantly, when to stop charging, and when to and about the discharging aspects. So because overcharging and over discharging may cause permanent internal damage, that we know in our mobile phones itself, right? When to charge and when to let it discharge. Now let me explain you the flow diagram. To estimate state of charge means what we need as the output. First, let me come from the right to left approach. We need energy, details, and we need the power. We talk about the electric vehicles, right? So for this, we need some calculations. So they are the battery pack calculations. Now, what should be input for this? See, if you wanted to calculate energy and power, what is that you should know about the charge, you should know about the state of charge, and we should know about the resistance of the battery pack, right? And how do we determine this? From where we get this actually? From where we get? They're all model-based estimators. They are all estimators. Again, they are model-based estimators. What are the input to the estimators? Here comes our basic voltage current and also temperature. So from the right to left approach, you can see if you wanted to know about the details of energy and power, we need some battery calculation details. Then what is that pack actually? That is the input which is given from the charge, state of charge, and resistance. From where we get the charge, SOC, R details, we get from the voltage, current, and temperature. So this is how we should design a state of charge. This is how we can estimate state of charge. So this is applicable to any kind of estimators. You should try to find what is the output. From there, we calculate, we segregate, and we can check what should be the input. Or it is like when we design a converter, we first ask for the application. What is the motor rating? And then with respect to whatever is applicable, the inputs we have, we design and just we deliver the output. So this is the same as, this is how we have to give an analysis with respect to the flow diagram for estimating a state of charge. So this is common for they're all nonlinear parameters, as I have told you. To mention in Tamil, we say that in the nonlinear parameters ella irukku and adha vandu linear ah maathano. So just to make it linear, we are going to estimate this. So this is how we proceed with the flow diagram. So these are the estimates of charge. As I mentioned you, I'm not getting into depth with something more technical that may confuse and complicate you. So there are Kalman filtering methods also. There are Kalman filtering methods too. Just for state of charge and state of health. So these are the different things. I just got a chat. What is that? Is it possible to get Kalman filter calculation as terminal output, or any specific IC is used in extended Kalman filter to store and train the data to display the user real time, or how can implemented hardware? Implementation of hardware, we need to study a lot. It is not a one single line question, okay? when I'm talking about a Kalman filtering, first you must have a very sound knowledge of estimating the parameters. Without estimating the parameters, see, if you are trying to design a hardware, you must need some study on it. See, you're saying that you have to design an output. Let's get me back. You have an output. You see, you should get an output. Now I have a here. This is a model. Let me say this is a packed with calculations. Let it be a Kalman filter also. Let it be X or Y. Doesn't fit into Kalman or extended Kalman or anything. Anything can be used to store and train the data to display in a user real-time current, and we can predict the future of SOC. All that you must need is, and you're asking me, right, whether we can implement it in a hardware. Yes, we can implement it in a hardware. And whether we can do it at an embedded level. Yes, we can do it in an embedded level. And how does that possible? We need to train the data with the basic equations. So that is the place where I've told you, right? Where we talk about the finite element method. It is a mathematical analysis. That is the place we are used to create the simulation, and we can check all these data. So I think I have cleared your doubt just parallelly. Yes, it is used to get a terminal output voltage. So this is how we just can track it. Then can only monitor battery or pack data, will be able to control the cell level voltage or the pack level voltage, what to provide as an output. Track SOC track only can I able to control using the SOC to find the replace value. See, when we talk about an overall control, we have information about energy and power, and naturally whichever is faulty will be shown in the battery management system. Let it be anything. Let it be in voltage parameter or a current parameter or a temperature. I'm talking about the temperature management system. When we talk about the cell balancing system, when we talk about the state option, entire thing, individual monitoring can be done, and that can be replaced. So that is the best part of the battery management systems. It is not just the final voltage, or even we can just enter into the grassroots level of the entire system. It is not only about the final product. Okay, you got it? So it is about interaction of all. That is where the BMS architecture play a major role, right? It can be a combined architecture. It can be unified, and it can be even a modular way also. But even that is what when we talk about a battery pack, when I gave an example of a Tesla, minute batteries battery details can be got over there. Even if there is a fault in one module, that module's particular cells can be replaced. So that is the best part of all these electrical battery management systems. Now, I think I made justice just by explaining the battery management systems. Within next half an hour, I should be able to complete power electronics. So a wide range of explanations are given here when I talk about power electronics. Okay. Now, I mentioned inverter is the brain of the system. Yes, we should agree. Power electronics play a major role. When we talk about the charging stations, when we talk about the different features, let me put that point. When we talk about the different technologies in integrating EV charging and in grid planning, and how to improve the utilization of an electric grid, all these things, power electronics play a major role. Okay. What does this power electronics do? I think people with the electrical background might be able to understand the depth of power electronics, what it is. So when we talk about power electronics, I just wanted to know, can I have in the chat box almost how many are people with electrical background here? So I just can go in depth with respect to that. If there are different people from different other engineering backgrounds, just can put a message to me. It's mechanical, electrical, triple background, almost equal. Many kind of mechatronics. Okay, fine. So I think you'll be able to understand a part of electronics also, electronics aspect. I think you'll be able to understand this part. Yes. Now, when I'm talking about this power electronics, which acts as the brain of the entire electric vehicle system, we should know BMS. So, last slides, I have talked about battery management systems or energy management systems. Okay. Now, I'm talking about, I talked about energy management systems or battery management systems. Now, I'm talking about power electronics. Now, what is that I'm going to do is BMS with power electronics in EV is a challenge. That too, whatever I told, right? Fast charging. BMS with power electronics in EV. So what is that we need to know? We need to know about the EV architecture, the EV battery chargers, and now we are going to classify whether it is an onboard charger or an off-board charger. See, so far I've been discussing about battery management systems. Now I'm moving gradually to power electronics, which is of electrical side, and there I am again segregating this power electronic battery chargers as onboard or off-board. On-board in the sense that a charger is placed in the vehicle itself. Off-board, it means that it is somewhere outside the vehicle, means it can be a charging station. And now on-board chargers, off-board chargers are there. Now there are also auxiliary battery charging systems. Now there are battery technologies associated with power electronics. So now this is what we are going to look here. Now, before going into energy management systems with power electronics, I saw the message, the chat box, that there are many mechanical and electronics. So let me get in the basics of what is meant by hard switching. See, I told one term called as power electronics, and in power electronics, two terms come, which is called as hard switching and soft switching. And hard switching means it is used for a simple switch motor drive inverter, and also it can be used in SMPS applications called as switched mode power supply applications. Now we talk mostly about soft switching. And this soft switching uses an LC resonance circuit to turn on and off a device at zero current or voltage. So let me not confuse you, or which I'm talking more in depth about the power electronic concept. So this might be helpful for the electrical engineers over there. So soft switching helps reduce the switching noise and loss because switching devices turn on and off at zero or nearly zero voltage or current. I think one point you might have understand. You switch on or switch off at zero or nearly zero voltage or current. So this is going to help you in a major way in terms of electric vehicles. So this PE concepts use soft switching techniques because there will be a reduction in noise, there will be reduction in losses if you are using this. I hope this point you got. If you're using this kind of technique, you will have some advantage. So that is why we are opting this kind of power electronic converter technology. Now, next basic is, I told now you wanted to know about an onboard charger and an offboard charger. Again, while you're designing that kind of chargers, you need to fix whether you are going to operate with isolated converter or non-isolated converter. Again, there are two different categories over here. For isolated converter, we can see it is one, that is the input and output has been isolated. You can see a transformer being used here. But in case of a non-isolated, here the DC to DC converter has a DC path between the input and output here. So it is all together. So this is called as a non-isolated converter. Buck converter means step down voltage. Boost converter means step up. The name itself shows. This flyback converter is another concept. Let me not complicate with that right now, being mechanical background more in number. Now, let me put the differences between ZCS and ZBS. Now, this ZCS means they are the zero current switching transistor turn-off transition, which occur at zero current. Zero current. And this zero current switching eliminates the switching loss caused by the IGBTs. Means they are the switches in power converters. For on and off, there are switches. Those switches we used as IGBT, insulated gate bipolar transistors. And they are used to commutate the switches. If it commutate means turn off the SCRs or the IGBTs, whatever, for turn off conditions. And we talk about the zero voltage, that it is like the transition occurs at zero voltage. And with zero voltage switching. So zero voltage switching eliminates switching loss induced by diode, okay? And induced by diode that stored charges and device output capacitances. Now moving into the next basic concept, which is called as voltage gain and parasitic capacitance. Voltage, see, everybody might have learned one subject which is interdisciplinary. We talk about gain, right? What is meant by voltage gain? This voltage gain is the ratio of output voltage to input voltage. Means output voltage, how far the input is being given at the output without loss or with loss, and what is the rate of the loss, and so on. That is a power exchange. You have an output, you have an input. How the power exchange is being done, that how it is determined is given by the gain. That is the voltage gain. So the DC to DC converter set up or a step up or step down voltage values for a given power exchange between source and load, and the factor plays a key role in selection of the load and source. For example, I'm telling you, see, I'm explaining you, you have a converter. Okay. This is your battery. This is your DC. Now, I'm saying this is a DC to DC converter, means this DC, DC. Battery DC na input to the DC to DC converter means what is that? Your input also should be DC. If this is DC to DC converter, this will have certain set of parameters. For this DC to DC converter should be designed, modeled, analyzed. இது என்ன பண்ணும் அப்படின்னா இந்த சார்ஜ் பண்றதுக்கு என்னெல்லாம் டீடைல்ஸ் வேணுமோ, so those details will be provided by this kind of system. So what will happen, this is for these things I should know the voltage gain, I should know the inductor parameter, capacitor parameter, voltage gain parameter. So these are the parameters that will decide and tell me how this is working. So I told you one can be an onboard. I told what is the other parameter I told? It can be an off-board. So this kind of converter is common for either on-board or either off-board. Means I'll show you the diagram so that you can understand. So before showing the diagram, let me tell you about the interleaved structure. This is composed of different parallel cells. See, there's a structure. There are different parallel cells you have. And what is the advantages of that is output is distributed between the different parallel cells. So these converters are controlled by switching signals. Let me not get into depth of it because this aspect, interleaved structure with respect to the switching frequencies shifted in phase will not be understandable to you. Again, I'm telling you one thing. If you're using this kind of structure, it will be helpful in getting the improved efficiency, reducing the ripple voltage. See, ripple means something you can understand that causes some noise or some disturbance. So that will be reduced. Efficiency, we all know this term. It means we are increasing this. And definitely if it is an inductor current ripple, we know that if the inductor will have some functionality to oppose the actual magnetic field, and that disturbance is in functioning as an inductor. That current through the inductor ripple, that ripple in the through the inductor will be reduced, and naturally switching speed will be better. Switching speed means on and off condition, on or off. The fast switching pace, that is also good. Now I'm just not getting into this galvanic isolation. Now, as I told you, these are all on board. These are all off board. Means this is in the car. Means I'm just telling you it's a car. This is in a vehicle. There I told you, no, some converters are there. They are called that they may be a DC converter or a DC to DC converter. Or see, this is your vehicle. Here, this vehicle point is just a minute. Yeah. He's not there. Yeah. Now this vehicle point is connected to this actual point. Means here you have a converter. This is DC point. But what is from the grid? The grid is always power is AC grid. This is the grid. This is your charging station. Means this is or off-board. This is your charging point. Now your vehicle battery is always DC, right? So for that input should be DC. So here either you can have AC to DC converter. This there are two different combinations here. You can see one is in blue color, the other one is in orange color. This orange color represents the switches inside the converter are silicon converter, SCRs, the thyristors, and the other one, it is all mentioned. It can be it may be IGBTs also. They're just mentioned in blue color. So one common representation you can see, AC is given, it converts to DC and gives here. Okay, that this is what I am talking. This is power electronic device. This is called as power electronic device. So this is what I've explained here. So in the power electronic device ku idallam theva. Appo in the power electronic device na modal neenga enna therinjukano. So this is power electronic device. So this is power electronic device. So here input is AC. Here it should be DC. See, there are two stages of conversion. Means on board itself there are AC to DC, and again it converts DC to DC. This is how. And the same thing happens here. Now you can see here directly connected to a charger. Here itself, off board itself, you have AC to DC here. So now the challenge is here. This is the place where we are going to do research. This kind of converters, your battery chargers, in the battery charge pandringa, that is why it's called as a battery charger. This kind of converters, we call it as the basic converters, the basic rectifiers, the basic rectifier purposes. But here it is an EV, right? It's not a mobile phone. It's an EV. So there we require certain switches and concepts. So those concepts are this voltage gain, ZCS, ZVS. These are the modeling parameters. These are the parameters to design this kind of converters. So when you talk about the off-board, you can see AC to DC, this converter, you can just feed it directly to the DC, that is the battery. Here itself, you have two different two-stage conversion. If it is single process, it is called a single stage conversion. If it is two process, it is called as two-stage conversion. Here it converts AC to DC, then here this DC to DC. This DC to DC converter is otherwise called as a chopper. So this is how this is called as the classification of different structures for onboard or off-board electric vehicles. So this converter, here we are using one converters, right? This converter may be either isolated converter or non-isolated converter. If you're using a transformer, it is an isolated converter. If you're not doing that, if your entire design is different, there's no isolation between the input and output, then it is called as a non-isolated converter. So these are the converters where we are using there. But the converters is going to be a common where either in an onboard or off-board or onboard, but the see, the logic is the same. How we design a converter, what are the parameters decided for the converter is the same, but where we use it is different. Either it can be an onboard or off-board charger. So these are the different battery. I hope this you might be clear. So far you might be clear what is that voltage gain aspect. Okay, now coming back to this battery chargers, voltage gain. Yes, kindly explain the first two steps. Okay, here I'm saying, for example, it is called as a two-stage conversion. Means you have an AC to DC and you have a DC to DC. Here for AC to DC, I have a different combination. I'm not going to explain this AC to DC concept. Let me give a small example for this DC to DC concept. See, there are converters. See, directly or connecting from grid. See, Government of India has issued a handbook for electrical vehicle charging stations. I think everybody can download that. Even if you can, you are able to download. It is just it's a free PDF. You can download and see. Yes, it's a free It's a free PDF for a charging station. You have a charging station, and charging station is meant with certain ratings. That converter should be able to process that input, and it should be able to process the input of the vehicle, and that vehicle it should be able to charge the battery. It should be able to do that for a charger. So now when we talk about the charger process, when we talk about the charging process in EV, let me say it here. This is off board, means it is not in the vehicle. On board means it is in the vehicle. If it on board and off board, the concept is the same, means the converter is the same. Either you have it in charging station or you're going to have in your vehicle. That is the difference. But inside your vehicle, if you have two-stage process, you will be having a rectifier and again a converter. Means AC is fed to a DC, and again DC is converted to DC to charge a battery. In case if it is if that provision is not there, you have a converter there in the charging station. It means this is the place where we talk about the fast charging systems. Your converter should be able to charge the battery very fastly. So this is the place of research. Now, when we talk about the battery chargers, battery charger should not be a bulk kind. It's because a size should be reduced, because it should be a handy one. Now we know that almost we are carrying a charger, we are charging it in our house, and then we are placing it in our two-wheelers. This is what we are doing right now. Now this drastic reduction in the size of a transformer when upgraded to a higher operating power frequencies, that means it requires less space requirement. So, and also it can be easily done with the cascading and the parallelism. So they are called as the high frequency link power conversion systems. So they are called as high frequency link power conversion systems. So now these kind of systems are actually used. So this is the basic concept. Means your frequency is increased, the size comes down, the area decreases. This is the ultimate logic with respect to your battery chargers. Now I think I should complete by 3:30, right? Oh, 5 more minutes. Okay. Okay, so these are the actual battery concepts, battery chargers concepts. Now, since Zarsi, I don't have much time to talk about more of electric, but I have so many slides because the power electronics play the major major heart of the entire electric vehicles. So one thing I would like to tell you, this battery chargers, they have power flow from input to output. And as time advanced, evolution of EV took place. You know what happened? This output should be bidirectional, means power should not flow from one end to the other. It should be bidirectional. It should be both ways. So people started designing different kinds of power chargers, and one such that stood for almost all the EV history is the dual half bridge or dual full bridge, or now it is dual active bridges. Half bridge will have only unidirectional power flow. This dual active bridges will have full kind, like both kinds of power flow it will be there. So there are different kinds of converters like this, like dual flyback, Sepik Zeta. There are different kinds of converters which is there for your research. You can just do it. I'm just going far. I'm not discussing this because these are different power converters, and this I think I hope you will all be able to understand. There are power electronic converters with 3 ports, means 1 port you can give the input, 2 ports you can get the output. It means port 1, 2 and 3. If input you are giving to first port, all the 2 other ports you can get output. If input you are giving to 2 ports, you can get 1 from the output. So it is all interchangeable, and you can see it is bidirectional. Port 3 can be given input, port 1 and 2 can be taken output. This is called as micro inverter prototype, where the inverter, the DC to AC process is done. The AC is the output where you can run the vehicle. the DC input is processed from the battery. The DC input is taken, and again it is processed for the vehicle. So battery technologies with power electronics are the recent research where it is being done. I'm just moving this. As I told you, this is the humble motor. Humble motor where the panel is at top. It is a commercial vehicle, commercial SUV actually. 1020 horsepower of power. And I told you, no, I'll discuss about the future. This is the future. Now we are in the present. We are talking about EVs. We are talking about different power electronic converters and the other aspects of EVs. Right now we are in this era. Before 2030, almost 30% of EVs will be there on the road. And now, you know, the future, we are going to have electric highways. This is in proposed stage. I hope you might know this. If you, for the people who don't know, this is what India may soon get its first electric highway. So with the world moving from conventional fuels to alternative sources for powering transport, like the proposed electric highway comes through. This is the breakthrough right now. We can see vehicles powered by electricity ply on a stretch. The first of these will be from Delhi to Jaipur, and later, if everything goes well, Delhi to Mumbai may be seeing another stretch of electrifying electric vehicles. So this is the future. Now, this is what it is planned right now. So a day back, government has told this electric highway is the future. This we can see in the future. So this is what going to happen now. Now we will be having charging stations also. We have a very good focus with respect to the government policies, and all these is the research should be on that particular point. I request you, see, whoever is interested to do research in EV, I request you to download the handbook issued by the Government of India, and there are that is, yeah, see, there are outputs, and you then for that you can design the input. Just a blank research is, it's absurd, right? You should do a research that is of a quality, and that should be meaningful to the society. So that is what I have been ultimately telling for a long time. So this is how, this is the future electric highway. So at NITT we have the e-vehicles, and here the single phase 230 volts 50 hertz to 48 volt DC charger is being used, and you can see the 4 batteries of 12 volts of 100 ampere hour batteries are used in series to make a 48 volts 100 ampere hour. And we talk about a motor here. We're not using an induction motor here. We use a BLDC motor, and 48 volt DC is being converted to the input of a motor. And there, what we're using here, the inverter is 3-phase voltage source inverter. I think electrical people might understand. It's a 3-phase VSI. It is being used. So this is what being used here. So conclusion is the weak link in EV batteries has been discussed, where the EVs, some places are not still mature. So see, we have a very good policy, and we have a very good focus on the future, what should be done. So it is up to the research and development in the battery management system, which need to satisfy the standards of EVs. So battery PV systems for EV chargers. So with here, novel topologies can be used and developed. For this, you can download the handbook. And the handbook is there. So some challenges in EMS is also there, because we don't know the accurate and practical algorithms for estimating. So again, they are especially under fast load changing and environmental conditions. Okay, that we must know actually. Fast load changing, for that we need to approximately and accurately predict the SOCs and SOH. And developing standards for EVs again, and yet another challenge. And standardized definitions of SOH should come out, and developing accurate battery models is the need of the hour. And coming up with higher efficiency, cost effective, and robust balancing methods is yet another challenge of this. So this is what about BMS and power electronic converters in electric vehicles. I hope I've discussed the basic aspects of all these things, and then and there I just cleared your doubts also. So thank you for giving me an opportunity. I thank the HOD of the department, Dr. Bibin, for providing me an opportunity to explain you what is required right now, what is the need of the hour, what is that put forth by the government, and what is that we require to do with respect to the government handbook which has been issued. So thank you all.
Thank you, ma'am. And you have explained all the concepts, all the information clearly, and especially started with why electric vehicle is needed, types of motors, energy management system, especially concern over the lithium-ion batteries, trends in EV batteries, battery swapping techniques, functionalities and features of BMS, and moreover, SOC and SOH system and its estimation, and related research areas. Thank you for the wonderful session, ma'am. On behalf of RMK College of Engineering and Technology, we thank for accepting our invitation and give this wonderful informative session, ma'am.
Thank you all. And I think people have asked my number. See, you can refer my profile at nitt.edu. You can have my mail over there. The official mail ID is there. In case if you find any difficulty in designing an analysis of the power electronic converters, you can just mail me and I'll be there to help you out for the aspects how to design a power electronic converter with respect to electric vehicles. Okay, and there you can see the it all depends upon. I'm there to help you with respect to the power converter sections of electric vehicles. So for those who ask my contact number, you can check my mail ID. So for there, whoever asked me, and yeah, people have shared. Yeah, yes. So Josephine Arl at nitt.edu is my official mail ID. You can put a queries there. So I'll be happy to help you out. So thank you. Any other queries you have with respect to this? See, if you are planning, one more information I would like to give for the electrical people here. If you wanted to design a power converter integrating with a grid, so integrating with grid or your vehicle with a grid, first you must know to write or model how to design a power electronic converter. For that, you can design you can download a book called as Power SMPS by Simon Ang, SIMONANG, Simon Ang. See, that book provide you variety of explanation. So that gives you more basics of how to design a converter, so that you can download. As I've told you, you can download the handbook issued by the government. You can download a book called a Simon Ang. And for all those who would like to learn the basics of electrical engineering, so basics of electricity, that without knowing about an inductor and capacitor or an atom, you cannot directly write something in EV. So basic is more important. That is, the logic is more important. For that, you can download a book called as Van Valkenburg. So I think it's a Russian author, but it gives a fantastic outline of all the basic ideas. So 3 things I have told you. If people are interested to work in EV and do things with respect to EV, just you can download all these 3 things, and still you have doubts, you can mail to me. Thank you all.
Thank you, ma'am.